From the Fathead Studio in Speedway, Indiana, this is The Skinny.
Man, am I still pretty? And he's like, you ain't pretty, but you're going to be all right.
And now I'm just hanging on, looking at the wall, like flying this way. And I'm like, oh man, I got to let go of this thing at some point.
And then there's one that could literally pick you up.
Yeah.
It's
I'm not really sure about that, but yeah.
That's called a helicopter.
Well,
And the last lap was just chaos. I mean, like 4 wide, 5 wide.
It's like whatever, if you land it and send it into the fence, you're probably not gonna get hurt. Bounce, and then this insane roll, the car that Keegan was in. I mean, I don't know, it's the shape of the Beetle or what, but that thing sent it.
So I was the supercharger specialist on my old man's car with
Specialist?
Yeah, it sounds cooler than crew guy.
Hi, I'm Tony Stewart.
I'm Mario Andretti.
I'm Christy Lee.
I'm Alexander Rossi.
I'm Cruz Pedregon.
I'm Al Unser Jr., and this is The Skinny.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Skinny. We're in Speedway, Indiana. It is the month of May. It does not get any better than the month of May in the Indianapolis area. I'm Ken Stout. The big man sitting there is Mr. Rico Elmore. He puts all this together. And, of course, the track dude, Michael Young, back behind the controls. He'll be an intricate part of everything that goes on here this month as well. A lot of track time out there this week, huh there, Mike?
Oh, I haven't. Yeah, I might as well pitch a cot out in the public address booth and out in turn 2. It's going to be a long month.
So
but a
you're
good
on
month.
the PA out there, and you'll be on IMS radio as well for the call.
Elephant ear machine away from being a carny in my lifetime now. That's where I am in my life. Yep.
You're doing great with it.
Thank you.
When you grow up, man, you'll have a shot at a good gig. Good stuff. Hey, we in theme, if you will, of the Indianapolis 500. We have a great guest on the show with us here today. Let's see if you can figure out who this is. I'll throw you a couple of tough ones here, but then we'll make it pretty easy for you. 1982 Can-Am champion. 1986-88 IROC champion at the age of 24. 1986 and 87 won the 24 Hours of Daytona. Again, the first one at the age of 24. Do you know who it is yet? How about this one? It'll get you a little bit closer. 1990 and 1994 kart IndyCar World Series champion. Still don't quite know who it is just yet? Well, this one will tip you off. His uncles won the Indianapolis 500 3 times. Still don't know? Here's another one. This is a big one. If you don't put it together now, you're in trouble. His father was the second person in history to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times. Yes. The family name holds the record of winning the Indianapolis 500 9 times. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome Mr. Al Unser Jr., a 2-time Indianapolis 500 winner, to the show.
Thanks,
you,
bud.
bud.
Yeah, great introduction. Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome stuff. You live here close by, so it was great to get you into the studio. It is the month of May. Do you still get excited?
Absolutely. The month of May is everything, you know, and so it's a shame they don't run the cars more, you know, but I can understand it. You know, when we were out there practicing for 2 weeks straight, it was a grind. We needed the time back then because we were developing Indy cars. You know, you had the Penske, you had the March, you had the Lola, you know, Patrick built the Wildcats. I think, well, Ray Hall built his own car at one point, and so, you know, we built the Galmer in 92 that won the 500, and so back then we needed the time out on the track. But, you know, today with it being spec racing, you know, with everybody has the same thing, and the Dallara, and it's several years old, all that kind of stuff, you don't really necessarily need the time that we used to have. It hit me that quick. We're going too fast.
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Fatheads Eyewear Studio. I'm Ken Stout. This is The Skinny. We have Al Jr. on the show with us here today. Great to have somebody of his knowledge, of course, his presence in the sport, That family name is just as big as anybody when it comes to motorsport racing. And great to have him in the studio with us here, especially in the month of May. So successful out there at the Speedway, driving for top-notch teams. Still in the top 10 of all time, by the way, with total wins in IndyCar at 34. A phenomenal record. And, of course, multi-time champion there as well. Great to have you with us. Your insight, and you're still intimately involved with this style of racing.
Well, I love single-seat open-wheel racing. I absolutely do. And so, yeah, last few years, we've been in the ladder series, helping young drivers take that next step out of go-karts and start up the ladder and with the road course running and stuff like that. And so, yeah, this is my life. This is what I do is run these cars. And, I'm too old to drive them now. But that doesn't stop us from getting out there and trying to pass that knowledge on to other drivers that I was basically born into, with Dad and Uncle Bobby being my mentors.
You guys were
and
doing something that was out of the ordinary at the time. You were in a sprint car, age 11?
No. I got in a sprint car when I was 16.
16, okay,
Yep,
high school.
Yep.
In high school.
Sophomore in high school. Yeah.
And still, I mean, I would say then was extremely young. I mean, was that a rule?
Well, no, it was a club rule there in New Mexico, but the rule was you had to have a valid driver's license in order to run out there for insurance purposes. Okay, and so that's all that was really required. But we were on the young side of things, Jeff Gordon came back here to Indy. He started running sprint cars at 15 or 14, something like that. Yeah. And so we had kind of started that at that young. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say you're one of the few families. I mean, who's going to go up to your dad and say, "Yeah, I don't know if your kid should be in a race
Hey, they
car."
tried. They tried. They're locally in Albuquerque.
How'd that go?
The local club. Well, he had to ask why, and they said insurance first off, and so we proved that one not right, and then it was a club vote, and and the members, the drivers, they all voted, and I barely was able to run with the understanding that we're gonna watch him. If he does anything crazy or not right, he's instantly pulled.
Well, half of the midget field now, they would be pulled. It's like, what are they doing?
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting that you're judged by your by your peers, and I mean, I think that's amazing. Sometimes it gets out of hand if you let the racers have too many, too much leeway, but that's a huge deal. That's cool.
Yeah, that's the way it was with me. They're locally in Albuquerque, and we went out there and we were able to do a good job and stay out of trouble, and so I continued to race.
So where did you go from there, from Albuquerque?
We went up to Denver. Dad didn't want me on any racetracks that had a wall all the way around it. So Speedway Park in Albuquerque only had a wall on front straightaway and back straightaway, so the corners were open. And so Erie, Colorado was the next track I went to, which was open walls on either end. And so which was a great thing, Dad was real smart on that, because the first track that I actually got on with a closed wall, I hit it real hard. I hit it real hard.
Getting ready to say.
No, I understand why. I
think I know where this is headed.
I went into 3, and it was a big 4-wheel drift all the way into the fence. Yeah.
What Rico was alluding to, it does seem to seem like some of the younger drivers, they're just getting so aggressive now. As they start off. They start off really young. They have no fear. We all know that.
Yep.
They have a ton of talent.
And we respect. Yeah, we respect.
They have a ton of
it,
talent.
But I mean,
question.
it's like, man, you got to slow down to go fast.
You're going
to get hurt.
We had Hinchcliffe in here, and Hinch even feels like it's now migrated its way up into IndyCar, where he feels like the young drivers here are so aggressive, and there's kind of some unwritten rules that respect rules that you guys all followed. And I think for a large part of it, it was you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to hurt somebody else.
True.
But now the cars are so safe, and the price that you pay might be financial, but there's very little injuries anymore, which is a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong, but it's emboldened some of these drivers.
Yeah, these young kids. I mean, I was young in my day, and I tell you, when I got to Indy, I was 21 years old, and I qualified 5th at 2:05 was my average. The pole was Teo Fabi at a 2:07. Okay, and Dad and Uncle Bobby and all the veterans, Gordon Johncock, Johnny Rutherford, Mario, AJ, they're all saying, we're going too fast. And I would look at my dad and I'd say, we're not going fast enough. Okay. And so then my second year, 1984, at Michigan, I got in I was lapping Chip Ganassi, and he spun off of turn 2 and took me down into the infield with him. Okay, so now that's the first time that I have lost control of my car over 200 miles an hour, and all of a sudden it hit me that quick. We're going too fast.
Again, Dad was right. That full wall thing.
He was full on right. All the veterans were right. Yeah, that ride did not end soon enough. I promise you. It hit me. I mean, it was that quick.
1985, he nearly won the championship. He missed it by just 1 point. The question is, to who?
It's never been cool. Are you kidding? I got beat. I lost.
Once again, welcome back to the Skinny. We're here in Speedway, Indiana, just about 10 minutes away from that place called Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a magical place here in the month of May. We have Al Unser Jr., of course, a two-time Indianapolis 500 winner. He was also inducted into the Indianapolis Motorsports Hall of Fame 2007, I think it was?
I believe so. I can't remember, but yeah. Sometime.
Special moment there. I teased when we were going to break that you nearly won your first championship in 1985. You missed it by 1 point to somebody that you knew very well.
Dad. Yeah.
Dad. So when you look back, when you look back now, it's probably cool, Dad and son, but at the time when you're young and you're hungry, how'd you feel?
No, it's never been cool. Are you kidding? I got beat. I lost. I mean, and I lost to Dad, which kind of makes it, okay, kind of. But no, I tell you, we had a great year that year. I was driving the Domino's Pizza car for Doug Shearson, and we had a trick rear wing that was just dynamite, and no one really figured it out till near the end of the season, and it got us, speed down the straightaway and gave great downforce, and didn't use up very much fuel, so we could run the car pretty rich and that kind of thing. And so it was good. We led most of the championship that season. I broke my ankle during that year at Road America. Raced 2 weeks later at Pocono. They'd carry me into the car and put me in the car, and it was a good year. Yeah, for the last, I don't know, I think it was the last 5 to 7 races, we were leading the championship, and Dad took the lead. I lost the lead at Phoenix, Arizona on the oval before Tamiami was the final race. So, and then after the Phoenix race, there was only going to be either Dad or myself was going to win the championship. So third was too many points down. They couldn't any better than third. Okay, and so going to the event down in Miami, it was either Dad or myself, and he had the advantage in the points, and so all I had to do was have a car finish between us. So I ran third. If he ran fifth, I would have won the championship. And so he passed Roberto Moreno with 3 to go or 5 to go for fourth place. And so Dad, he timed it just right. I mean, during that whole race at Miami,
Just hanging out.
I was
Yeah.
winning the championship, points wise. And that's what the crew was telling me. Al, you're doing great. You're doing great. You know, your dad's he's not close to anybody. You're doing great. We're winning. We're winning. Just keep bringing it. Bring it home. Bring it home. And then Dad waits to the end of the race to make his move.
Laying in the weeds.
He did. He
Just
did.
ready to
And
rip.
that was the way he
So
was.
I'm curious.
That was
Before-
that was kind of like the conversation with Mario.
Yeah, I was thinking
and
the same thing
Michael.
at Portland, right?
And that was not a good thing. Apparently, how
The
that all
answer
went
was
down.
about the same. It was Portland, and it was like a last lap. Mario beats Michael.
Michael.
I finished third, right there with them.
Oh, with them.
I know
on that
exactly
race.
what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was right there chasing Mario. Michael was leading, and then Michael ran out of fuel. And then Mario and I were having one hell of a race. And so I was right there. Yeah.
Well, his wife said, "Well, don't you feel bad? You beat your son on Father's Day?" And Mario's like, "No, I don't feel
No,
bad at all."
That's right.
He said, "I don't feel bad at all. It's Father's Day. It's not his day. It's my day."
Yeah. Yeah.
Apparently
I
Michael
was
didn't see
right
it the
behind.
same way.
Yeah, I was right behind Mario, about a car length back from Mario. So it was Mario, Michael. He barely won, and then Michael crossed, and then I crossed right then.
And you know the thing about it is watching you guys then. I mean, I've been a fan forever, and love the sport, but watching you guys, I had my doubts about the IRL in the beginning, but I think they're putting together a pretty good product. Yes, I understand it is a spec car. There's a lot of differences between them, but you know. And we were talking about, you know, some of these guys come out, they're young and they're aggressive and so on and so forth. Well, you know what? If they had got a knot put on their head by A.J. Foyt, I bet they wouldn't have been aggressive. So, you know, back in the day, you knew there were consequences.
That's right.
If you did something stupid there.
You did.
Even if you were his godson, you got MF'd right on live TV.
You know, if you could just imagine what the cost of IndyCar racing would be right now, had it been where everybody can build their own stuff and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm learning out there that the competitive budget to run is $7.5 million per car for the year. Wow. And so that's with a spec car. That's with, you know, where the costs are down and on. That's not building. Imagine building molds for a Penske or building molds for a March. I mean, it just goes crazy. And so that budget would be probably twice today if we were back in the 90s, let's say.
Want to get the skinny on other guests and different types of motorsports? Check out our YouTube page and get the skinny.
Welcome back to the Skinny. They're beating me up in here a little bit today. It's all good. We have Al Unser Jr. in the studio, the 2009 Motorsports Hall of Fame inductee. Certainly very, very knowledgeable. Great to have him in the studio. We should really be doing a part one and a part two here. That's part of my complaint here. Just such a rich talent to have in the studio.
Thank you.
Hey, I want to have you watch this video. It's from 1989. Special moment, of course. You're in the hunt to win this thing. You and Mo are going at it, and Mo, I think, had been leading for the most part, but it doesn't end well for you in this particular year. I find it humorous that going on to 1994, the tables were turned a bit, and it went just the other way. But we'll talk about that in a moment. But watch this video, and we're going to have our fans watch it as well, because it's a pretty special moment, and certainly the way your brain worked from being extremely angry to being extremely respectful.
There was some back markers, and Junior was boxed. He come out of the toe. I was on the inside line already, and we went side by side into turn 3.
He came on lap traffic, and he got on the inside of me, and 2 guys went into turn 3 and only 1 was going to come out. And it wasn't me.
And now Emo has a lap and a half.
Here we go, here
comes
goes
Emo
pass.
on the inside. Here comes Emo. Oh, he blocks him down low.
Emo
and
didn't
they're
like
still
that.
side by side going into turn 3. Emo down low in the middle of the track, and Emo may have it. They almost touch it.
Oh,
They do
good
touch
touch.
wheels. And then to the wall is Al Jr. Emo continues on.
I look to Junior's car, and he was looking to me, and you know when you put your head down and you want to move fast, when you overtake someone, and I could see Junior was doing like this with the helmet I was doing, and I'm thinking myself, I'm not going to back off in turn 3. I'm going to take flaps. And I'm sure Junior was thinking this exactly the same.
Little Al. Little Al looked over to see Fittipaldi there. He kept his foot down, went into the corner, turned in, stayed well above the line.
And side by side, I lost the backhand, the car slide. I just hit Al Junior, and I was lucky that I didn't crash.
And I was okay. I got out of the car and you know, took off my helmet and I started heading out towards the track. And safety crewman, he stepped in front of me. He goes, "Al, where are you going?" I said, "I'm going out to the track." And he goes, "What, you want to flip him off?" And I went, "Yeah." You know, like, duh. And he stepped aside, "Go right ahead," you know. And so I went out onto the track, and with the full intention of telling him and showing him exactly what I thought about what had happened. You know, Emerson led basically the entire day. You know, I mean, he led it. And he was coming around to get the checkered flag for his first Indy 500. It was about winning. You know, he didn't do anything intentionally. And so I gave him thumbs up and clapped my hands and gave him thumbs up and told him that was the best slide job that anybody ever gave me.
It was a classy moment. I mean, it was to watch the progression of how your brain worked from the intensity of that moment, you know, adrenaline wide open, to realizing, man, we're just in a vicious dogfight to win what many would call the most important race of our life.
Yeah. Well, you know, what I was, excuse me, what I was actually doing was congratulating him on his win. I was trying to be funny there and make a joke out of, you know, the slide job that he gave me and so on. But because we were just 2 cars going at the end of the race, and we were both going in there, and I saw the traffic. I lifted because there was no way we were so far to the inside. There was no way we were going to make the corner, you know, if we were to run it flat. And so I just started getting out of the throttle, and he showed up, you know, and he wasn't thinking. I don't even think Emerson knew there was traffic on the right of me. You know, he was concentrating on me so much that he probably even forgot there was a corner in front of him. I mean, honestly. And so, you know, it was a great moment. It was good. It was a great race for the Gallus racing team, for Valvoline, all of it. I mean, that was truly the best prepared that I had ever been in for an Indy 500 race, you know, so.
Al, did you ever play that back in your mind, the competitor that you are, and say, what could I have done different in that moment?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've played it back many times, and there was nothing I could do to change it. You know, we could have tried to run more throttle in there and so on, but Emerson was just, I really feel that he was concentrating on me so much that we could have throttled in there, but then there was the lap car in front of me, and so we were getting a wash off of his car. So even with that, I mean, there was just, I've played it over and over, especially at the time, and we did what we could do, and that was it. Yeah.
Also worth mentioning, there were no turn 3 spotters for you guys back then.
No, well, we didn't need any spotters. I mean, you know, it was everybody knew where everybody was at that time, and so, you know, what surprised me actually was that I got the momentum wrecked on me coming off of turn 2, so that's allowed Emerson to get up beside me, and he got up beside me because he had the momentum. But then the second half of the straightaway, I started pulling him. And I was going, all right, my car's faster than yours, kind of thing. Because you know, I didn't know. I mean, it was. I never showed what I had that whole day. I never showed any of it, and so, you know, and then finally we had to, and yeah, my car was quicker than his. I started pulling him. I'm going, all right, this is cool. So.
We're going to talk about the 1992 Indianapolis 500 when we come back. How about the closest finish in history?
Then it was just like a flood of emotions that come in. It's the 500. Wow.
The Skinny is brought to you by American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force. And Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Skinny. Al Unser Jr. in the studio with us here this week. Couldn't be happier to have this guy inside of the studio talking about some of his days out there at the Speedway. Super exciting, man. Really, really cool. We just went through 1989 where you got a little bit of the short end of the stick, if you will. But I want to jump forward to 1992. You and Scott Goodyear. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing again. Watch this video for us. But you and Scott Goodyear battle it out right to the stripe. You win it by 43 thousandths of a second. It just doesn't get any tighter. Watch this last lap and then walk us through it.
They make the turn for home now. On the main stretch, Scott Goodyear closes in. He looks for a place to come by. Scott Goodyear tries it, but no.
I believe that's the closest finish in Indy history. Closer than the race 10 years ago when Gordon Johncock beat Rick Meir.
10 years ago when Little Al was new to this track. And now, Al Unser Jr. is a winner at the Indianapolis 500.
You just don't know what Indy means.
Yeah, what happened on that last lap, we had been running wide open around there the entire time from the time it went green. So it was about 11 or 12 laps. We were flat out, and my car was extremely neutral the whole time. And I was just praying that the back end was going to hold in. And I could feel it was getting a little more positive and a little more positive. And then went into turn 3, and on the exit of turn 3, I lost the back end and it slid up next to the wall, and I went, oh no, now it's gone. And so as soon as I cracked the wheel to turn into turn 4, it stepped out, and that I blipped the throttle. And that was the first time that throttle had come up for the whole 12 laps or something. And that's what got the run that he got on me off of turn 4, is I had to blip it just that one little bit. I came off, looking in the mirror, knowing what I did, looking in the mirror, and I saw the run that he had on me, and my first thought was, I've blown another one. I've blown another one. Was my only thought. And so then it was about, trying to, psych him or something, try to get him to blip his throttle, and there was none of that, right? And so I finally went, okay, we'll see where it goes. And so that's how he got up next to me.
3 things I remember from that day: how cold it was, but something that I still carry to this day was Bob Jenkins' call. Little Al wins by just a few tenths of a second.
Yep.
And when you got out of the car, you said, you just don't know. I'm going to get choked up with what Indy means. Yeah. What describe your feelings, your emotions as you were saying that?
Well, kind of the buildup really was that because I hadn't had time to think about it, because the only thing I was thinking about those last 12 laps was keeping Scott Goodyear behind me. And so he had full attention. And so, like, you know, growing up in the family and all that, you know, the leader on those last few laps, they're hearing every little bolt and every little crack in the road they're feeling, and they're just praying to God that the thing just stays running, right? And with me, there was none of that. I mean, I was wide open, and I was doing everything trying to make it just
It was going to blow up, or we was going to win.
Yeah, I mean, there was no. It was just pure driving and keeping Scott behind me, and so once we crossed the line, then it was just like a flood of emotions that come in. It's the 500. Wow, you know, the dream finally came true, and that sort of thing, and just, I mean, it was just a flood of emotions. I even started crying going down the backstretch. You know, I mean, it was that big and that quick, instant, and then when we get into Victory Lane, you know, Jack Arute, he just asked like a wide open question to me, and because I'm so emotional, it just popped in my head. You just don't know what Indy means, you know. This is life. This is everything, and I had been trying to win it for so many years that after '89, I remember telling my wife Shelley, just call me Lloyd Ruby. You know, I mean, I had all kinds of shots at it.
So close, but couldn't get there.
And couldn't get there, you know, and very talented driver and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, that's kind of the way I felt, you know. And so, but when we finally got her done, it was a great day.
So I'm really curious, growing up in your family, what were those conversations like pre-win, and then what were they like after your win? But when you're growing up and you see your father win this race 4 times, you're now competing with your father. You know you can compete at the highest level with anybody. Is there an added pressure there to think, man, I need to hold my end up? My uncle's won this thing. My dad's won this thing. I need to win this thing.
The answer's yes, and I put it on myself. And so when I first started sprint car racing and doing interviews and so on, Dad noticed that they were kind of comparing the two of us and that sort of thing. And Dad told me right away when I was 16, he goes, look, I don't care what you do for a living. The only thing I care about is you try your best. And if you try your best, then the best will come back to you. And so once he said those words to me, there was instantly all that pressure was gone. Now, as time went on, and, you know, like I felt I had a car in 1984 to win the 500. And then I definitely had a car to win it in 89, and I didn't. And so, you know, it was just, that's the way it was. And so it was just harder. It seemed to be getting harder and harder and harder to win. And it was taking so long. And so once it finally happened, I mean, the conversations really didn't change from pre-wins to after the wins, you know. I mean, you know, Uncle Bobby was hard on me. Dad would help me as much as he could, you know, mentor-wise, and wanted the best for me. He knew he couldn't do it for me, you know. Uncle Bobby was just pointing out all the things I do wrong and that kind of thing, which he did that to the day he died. You know, I mean, that's just the way it was with Uncle Bobby, and so, you know,
somewhat opinionated.
Yeah, I mean, well, hey, if I won a race and I got a wink and a shake of the head, then that was the most you're going to get out of Uncle Bobby or my dad. That
Tough
was
love.
Just the way it is, you know. You know, a wink and a good job, and
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
And then it's on to the next. Can you hear me? And I'd go, yeah, I can hear you. Keep going, kind of thing. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Skinny. This is the Fatheads Eyewear Studio. We're just down the street from that magical place known as the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2-time Indy 500 winner and multi-time champion sitting in the studio with us, Al Unser Jr. We're going to move to 1994. He signs a deal with some guy by the name of Roger Penske. And had a magical year. One of those championship years, won 50% of the races he was in that year, 8 of 16, and did it with a brand new engine, including, by the way, the Indianapolis 500, your second. Goosebumps talking about that, dude. With the Mercedes engine inside of that thing, it had to be a magical time there driving for Roger.
It truly was. I mean, right from the get-go when we started testing in the fall of '93, it was a dream come true. I'd always wanted it to get the call, from Roger and so on. And it took a long time for that call to come, but once it finally did, it was just a magical year. And then, learning about the 209 cubic inch, the pushrod engine that he was building that only our team would have, Tracy and Emerson and myself. We were the only ones. So I knew going in that those were the only two guys that I was going to be racing against, because it was that strong, it was that powerful. And so the other thing was to make it live. We had to make it live and so on. And so, there was a lot of ifs that were in the air as far as its reliability, but we were able to finish. I remember there, whenever Paul fell out, whenever Tracy fell out of the race, and they came over the radio and said, Tracy's out, and it's this certain bearing or some certain part that you just have no control of, that sort of thing. And so from the time they said that, I was just praying to God that it didn't happen to our engine, right? Because there was nothing you could do about that.
So were they building those in Reading?
They were building them in England.
So driving for the captain, family tradition.
Yeah, it was
and
cool.
And you didn't fail
cool.
them on it, so you all won 500s together,
yep,
right?
Uncle Bobby and Dad and myself won Indy for him, and so that was a great thing. And the one thing about Roger, and it took me a few races to get used to this, was he talks to you every single lap. First off, in my contract, it was Roger on my radio, because I wanted to be driving Roger's car, not one of the team cars. I want to be driving Roger's car, so I had that in my contract.
So did your dad put you up to that by chance,
no,
or Uncle Bobby?
That was something.
That was you.
You knew that was the deal.
Me.
I was like, man, you had some insight there. Clearly,
actually, I had tried to plan it to where when Mears retired, I'd slide in that slot with Rick Mears, because Uncle Bobby was on the radio with Roger, and then Rick Mears became Roger's driver. And then when Dad came along, Rick Mears was Roger's driver. And so that was it. That was that. Rick was Roger's driver the whole time. Pretty much he was there. And so the only way I could get on Roger's radio was by replacing Mears. And so Mears retired. I think it was at the end of the 92 season. It was 93 that he didn't race. And I went, oh, man, I missed it. So Tracy's in my slot, or Emerson's in my slot, whatever it was. And so, but we ended up coming in there. I got him on my radio, and he talks to you every single lap. And he's giving you great information. It's not just how's it going out there or anything like that. He's going, you're plus this, you're minus this. Next time by, if we're running fifth or something, the leaders are doing this. They pitted this last time here and there.
He's an amazing,
constantly just feeding information to me, and he'd do it so often that he'd finally go, "Can you hear me?" And I'd go, "Yeah, I can hear you. Keep going," kind of thing. Yeah. So then I had to say 10-4 every time he would say something.
Guy isn't even listening to me.
10-4, right? Because it was just But during the 94 500, as soon as I pulled away from the grid, the radio quit. So I didn't have Roger on my radio the entire race.
Oh,
never
wow.
heard. And so we had it all figured out, something that Dad and Uncle Bobby taught me, that if the radios go out, a closed fist is no. An open hand is yes. And just they start asking you questions, and you read the question, and then the next lap, you give them a no or a yes, because they're answering no yes questions. We got so good at it by the end of the race that they were having like 2 or 3 sentences on the board. And so it would take me like 4 or 5 laps to read the question. They were just starting to put paragraphs up there, because you're going by at 200 miles an hour.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
it takes a few laps to read, and they just added to it because we were getting really good at it.
Yeah.
And so, but once we got into, that was my 4th race for him. So I didn't really know how much he actually talked and all that. I had a little bit of it at Long Beach and in Australia and so on, in Phoenix. But yeah, once I got used to him talking to me, he was truly the best owner that I ever drove for. He knew more about my situation than I did. Okay, and proof of that is we're at the Michigan 500 running, and we have a late yellow or yellow about 3/4 distance and so on. And so we're getting ready to go back to green, and he goes, "Okay, we're getting ready to go green. Grab those belts, tighten them up, and let's get ready." And I went, "Oh, tighten belts." So I grab up here. They were loose. Oh. they were not loose, but they were loose a little bit. How the hell does he know that? So I cinched him down, and go, "Okay, we're ready." She's actually has come to inspire so many people.
The Skinny is brought to you by Fatheads Eyewear. Fatheads Eyewear, hardcore since '04. And American Coach. American Coach, innovation is our life force.
Once again, welcome back to the Skinny. We're here in Speedway, Indiana, just about 10 minutes away from that place called Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a magical place here in the month of May. We have Al Unser Jr., of course, 4 children along the way. I know you're proud of all of them, but unfortunately for Cody Unser, your daughter lost the use of her legs, and you guys started a foundation, Cody Unser's First Step Foundation, at the age of 13 for her. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, Cody, that was something that she's playing basketball on a Friday afternoon. On Saturday morning, she's a paraplegic from her chest down. It's called transverse myelitis, which is an an autoimmune disease, a lot like MS. A virus got in her spinal cord, like we would a sinus virus or a chest virus, something like that. It got in her spinal cord. Her own immune system went to kill that virus. It did, but unfortunately, it killed 2 inches of her spinal cord at the same time. And so that's how she was. So it was actually her and her mom, Shelly. They started the foundation to bring awareness and quality of life to paraplegics and so on. They ended up doing a lot with scuba diving and taking veterans that got hurt overseas and so on, the loss of their legs, had them go down scuba diving for a quality of life, and then discovered
down in the Keys, right?
Down in the Keys,
So my buddy Gus, that's a cameraman for the NHRA, is one of the guides.
Okay,
and
awesome.
was telling me an amazing.
Yeah, they'd go to Cancun too.
Yeah,
they'd go to Cancun, and so it started out as a quality of life, but then once they started doing it with the veterans, they started figuring out that it helped with their PTSD. And so then it had to do something with the pressure underwater and so on like that. And so now, I mean, Cody does a great job. We just had a fundraiser with myself and Scott Goodyear last night. We raised like $3,100 or something. So
Awesome.
So it was good. It was good. So Cody's doing well. She's studying in school right now, trying to get a degree and so on. So yeah.
What's the web page? Where can somebody go to help out?
Cody Unser First Step Foundation.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome.
Yep.
That is huge. And And to think that you know, one day you're perfectly fine playing basketball, and the next you're not.
Right.
So that's a
it was a
it's a
honestly,
huge life change.
It was a shock to me,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
That's
for
crazy. Oh.
what I did for a living and that sort of thing. Yeah, she's actually has come to inspire so many people and make life positive.
Couldn't have a better guest inside of the studio. The 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 took place earlier today. We congratulate everybody who had a great success out there at the racetrack at this place that we love so dearly. Hope you enjoyed the show here. They don't come any better than this guest right here, Al Unser Jr. We'll see you next week.